For 300 years, the Sky Dominion ruled the stars. Wherever their ships traveled, darkness followed. Their fleets were so vast that when they entered a system, they blocked the light of entire suns. Planets did not fight them. Planets surrendered. The Dominion believed the sky belonged to them. When their scouts reached the solar system, they were not impressed. Earth looked small. Divided. Loud with signals and weak defenses. Humans were still arguing with each other while alien warships moved between their outer planets. High Commander Vorex stood inside the command chamber of the flagship Oblivion Spear. His long fingers rested on a glowing star map. Earth shined at the center. "Primitive," he said calmly. "They will kneel like the others." The Dominion fleet advanced without fear. Thousands of warships formed perfect lines above Mars. Massive carriers moved toward Jupiter. Smaller attack ships rushed ahead and destroyed human satellites in seconds. Explosions flashed silently in orbit. On Earth, screens went dark. Panic spread quickly. Governments tried to send messages, but signals were blocked. Military forces prepared missiles that would never reach their targets. The alien ships were too high, too fast, too powerful. Then the sky changed. A shadow passed over the planet. At first it looked like clouds. But clouds do not move in sharp lines. This shadow had edges. It had shape. It had purpose. People looked up and saw metal covering the sky. The Dominion fleet moved into low orbit. Their ship spread across the atmosphere, forming a massive shield between Earth and the sun. Day turned into evening. Evening turned into night. In the alien command chamber, Vorex watched Earth disappear into darkness. "Let them feel fear," he said. "Then we offer mercy." A message was transmitted in every human language. "Submit. Or your world will burn." Cities went silent. Power grids struggled. Streets filled with confusion and fear. For the first time in history, all human eyes looked at the same threat. But deep beneath Earth's surface, far below cities and oceans, something else was happening. In hidden facilities carved into rock, quiet rooms lit up. Screens activated. Old systems powered on. Men and women who had trained for this exact moment stood at their stations. Humanity had seen the Dominion before. Years ago, long-range telescopes had detected systems going dark. Entire stars dimmed as alien fleets passed. Earth had watched and learned. They did not announce their fear. They prepared. While the Dominion believed humans were weak and divided, something had been built in secret. Not near Earth. Not near the Moon. Far beyond Pluto. In the cold darkness where few would search. Back in orbit, Dominion fighters began small strikes across Earth's military bases. Not full attacks. Just warnings. Just reminders of power. Vorex folded his hands behind his back. Begin planetary compliance operations. But before the order could fully process, a junior officer stepped forward. "Commander, we are detecting movement in the outer system." Vorex did not turn. "Human ships." "No, Commander. The mass readings are too large." A silence filled the chamber. "How large?" Vorex asked slowly. The officer hesitated. "We cannot measure it." Across the vast darkness beyond Neptune, something enormous shifted. Not fast. Not loud. Just steady. Ancient engines, cold for decades, began to glow. On Earth, inside the deepest command center, a human admiral watched a single screen. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply nodded. "Send the signal," she said quietly. A small pulse traveled into deep space. And far beyond the Dominion fleet, something answered. The Dominion fleet held its position above Earth, confident and unmoving. Their ships formed a wall of metal between the planet and its star. To them, this was already victory. Humanity was trapped in darkness, cut off from space, cut off from hope. Inside the flagship Oblivion Spear, Commander Vorex watched energy reports scroll across his display. Human resistance was weak. Their defenses were scattered and uncoordinated. A few missiles launched from hidden silos, but they were erased before reaching orbit. Prepare full planetary bombardment, Vorex ordered calmly. Before the command could be carried out, alarms echoed through the chamber. Not loud. Not chaotic. But steady. Commander, the sensor officer said, his voice tight, we are detecting unusual gravitational distortion beyond the orbit of Neptune. Vorex frowned. Explain. It appears to be artificial. The main screen shifted. The outer solar system came into view. At first, there was nothing unusual. Just darkness and distant ice fields. Then something moved. It was not a ship. It was not a fleet. It was a structure. Large. Angular. Spreading wide across millions of kilometers. Moments later, more signals appeared. Hundreds. Thousands. Vorex stepped closer to the display. That is impossible, he whispered. The objects were forming a ring around the sun. Back on Earth, deep beneath layers of reinforced stone, Admiral Lena Arman stood before a holographic projection of the solar system. Around the glowing image of the sun, small icons began to appear in perfect symmetry. Phase 1 was complete. Humanity's hidden fleet had awakened. For decades, they had built in silence. Mining the asteroid belt. Harvesting materials from distant moons. Constructing massive solar array platforms far from alien observation. Each piece alone seemed harmless. Together, they formed something extraordinary. A veil. In orbit, Dominion ships adjusted their sensors toward the sun. Energy readings fluctuated. Commander, another officer reported, solar output reaching our fleet is dropping. That is impossible, Vorex snapped. The star is stable. It is not the star, Commander. Something is blocking it. Across space, enormous black panels unfolded like mechanical wings. They spread outward, aligning with impossible precision. More platforms locked into place. Energy nodes connected in a glowing web around the sun's surface. Light began to fade. On Earth, people looked up. The sky was already dark from the Dominion blockade, but now something else changed. The faint glow that filtered around alien ships grew weaker. In space, the Dominion fleet noticed first. Solar recharge levels declined. Weapon systems that depended on stellar radiation slowed. Shield matrices flickered as backup systems activated. Redirect internal reactors, Vorex ordered. We are attempting to compensate, the engineer replied, but our design relies on external stellar input. The human veil thickened. It did not fully cover the sun. Not yet. But it reduced its output toward the Dominion fleet by half. Then 70%. Then more. Vorex felt something unfamiliar rising in his chest. Uncertainty. How could they build this without detection, he muttered. No one answered. Far beyond Pluto, the largest human constructs shifted position. Massive control ships guided the veil's alignment. Calculations adjusted in real time. Every movement was precise. Human ships began emerging from hidden positions near the outer planets. Unlike Dominion warships, they did not glow with solar absorption panels. Their hulls were darker, smoother, powered by compact fusion cores designed to operate without sunlight. They advanced silently toward the Dominion blockade. On Earth, Admiral Arman gave the next command. Reduce solar output to Dominion grid by 90%. In the vacuum of space, the sun dimmed. To the human eye, it still burned bright. But to the Dominion fleet, energy collapsed. Weapon charge cycles failed. Navigation systems recalibrated. Command channels flickered with static. Vorex gripped the railing before him. This was their plan, he realized. They never intended to fight for the sky. On the main screen, the sun seemed to shrink behind a growing metallic halo. Darkness spread outward. And for the first time in 3 centuries, the Sky Dominion faced a terrible truth. They did not control the light. And the darkness now belonged to humanity. Darkness spread across the Dominion fleet like a slow infection. Solar intake levels fell below survival thresholds. Backup systems activated across thousands of ships at once. Internal reactors strained under sudden demand. Energy weapons powered down to emergency levels. Commander Vorex stood frozen as status reports flooded the command chamber. Shield strength at 40%. Long-range weapons offline. Solar conversion arrays unresponsive. He felt something he had never felt before in battle. Disadvantage. Outside the viewport, the sun burned behind a thin metallic veil. It was still there, but its light was no longer free. It was being redirected, shaped, controlled. Humanity had not attacked the Dominion fleet directly. They had attacked its dependents. Far beyond Mars, the first human warships appeared from silent drift. They were not large like Dominion carriers. They were not decorated with glowing panels. They were compact, sharp, built for efficiency. And they were fully powered. Inside one of those ships, Admiral Lena Arman watched the battlefield update in real time. Her face remained calm. Phase 2, she ordered. Across the vast veil surrounding the sun, certain panels shifted. Energy that had been withheld from the Dominion fleet was redirected through focused channels. Then it fired. A concentrated beam of solar power lanced across space, striking a Dominion command cruiser near Earth. The beam did not explode the ship. It did not shatter it. It disabled it. Systems shut down instantly. The cruiser drifted powerless. The Dominion crew watched in shock as more beams followed. Each strike precise. Each target strategic. Communication hubs. Shield amplifiers. Command relays. Humanity was not destroying the fleet. They were dismantling it. Return fire. Vorex roared. But Dominion ships struggled to respond. Their energy reserves were unstable. Their targeting systems relied heavily on stellar triangulation. Without steady sunlight, their accuracy dropped. Human ships moved through the battlefield like predators in deep water. They used dark-adapted sensors. Thermal tracking. Independent fusion cores that needed no star. A Dominion destroyer attempted to ram a human cruiser. The human ship rotated calmly and fired a narrow pulse directly into the destroyer's engine core. The alien vessel spun out of control, silent and helpless. Vorex gripped the rail tighter. "How long have they prepared this?" he demanded. "Unknown, Commander," an officer replied. "There are structures in the outer system older than our first scan of this region. Humanity had started building the veil decades ago. Piece by piece. Hidden beyond the edge of common scanning routes. They mined asteroids and disguised the material as natural debris. They powered small stations independently to avoid detection. They had waited. Not for conquest. For defense. On Earth, people watched fragments of the battle return to their screens as human networks came back online. They saw alien ships drifting. They saw beams of light coming from their own sun. For the first time since the invasion began, fear began to fade. In orbit, Dominion vessels attempted retreat maneuvers. But hyperspace jump systems required stable energy fields aligned with stellar output. The veil interfered with those calculations. They were trapped. Human fleets began forming a sphere around the weakened Dominion armada. Not close enough for chaos. Just close enough for certainty. Admiral Arman received confirmation from Outer System Command. All Dominion primary weapons offline. She nodded once. Send them the message. A transmission pierced through the Dominion flagship's interference grid. It carried no threat. No anger. Only calm. On the main display before Vorex, a human face appeared. A woman in simple uniform. No medals. No decoration. You believed you owned the sky, she said evenly. You built your empire on light you did not create. Vorex stared silently. The human continued, we do not seek your worlds. We do not seek your stars. But this system is not yours. Behind her image, data streamed, proof of full solar control. You are alive because we choose restraint. Silence filled the Dominion bridge. Outside, human ships held position, steady and patient. For the first time in the history of the Sky Dominion, their fleet commander understood something terrifying. The sky was never theirs. It had been borrowed. And humanity had just taken it back. The Dominion flagship drifted in controlled silence. Emergency systems kept it alive, but barely. Around it, thousands of Dominion ships floated powerless, their once proud formation broken into scattered lines of metal and fear. Commander Vorex stared at the human on his screen. She did not look like a conqueror. She did not look angry. That unsettled him more than rage would have. You could destroy us, Vorex said slowly. Why do you hesitate? The human woman's expression did not change. Because destruction is easy, she replied. Control is harder. Behind her, the sun glowed faintly through the metallic veil. Panels shifted like moving shadows, precise and controlled. Light flowed where humanity allowed it. Vorex felt the weight of understanding press down on him. For centuries, the Dominion had measured power in fleets. In firepower. In fear. Humans measured power differently. They measured patience. Across the Dominion fleet, officers worked desperately to restore systems. Internal reactors were overheating. Reserve power was nearly gone. Without sunlight, their technology was crippled. Commander, an engineer said quietly, we cannot sustain this for long. Vorex knew. If the humans chose to fully cut solar output, the fleet would die slowly in the cold dark. Yet the sun had not vanished completely. Humanity was holding it at the edge. Not killing. Warning. The human officer on screen stepped aside. Another figure appeared. Not a soldier. An older man wearing simple civilian clothing. Vorex blinked in confusion. I am not military, the man said calmly. I am a teacher. Silence filled the bridge. The teacher continued, you believed fear creates loyalty. You believed shadows create control. He gestured toward the dimmed sun. We learned something different. On screens across the Dominion fleet, data streamed showing decades of human observation. Recordings of systems conquered by the Dominion. Civilizations forced into submission. Stars dimmed by alien armadas. Humanity had been watching. Learning. Waiting. You were strong, the teacher said. But you depended on one thing. Light. The Dominion Empire was built around solar absorption technology. Their ships converted star radiation directly into combat energy. It made them powerful, but predictable. Human engineers had built differently. Fusion cores. Independent reactors. Layered systems. Slow, careful design. Redundancy. We do not attack what makes you strong, the teacher continued. We remove what you rely on. On the outer edges of the battlefield, additional human ships arrived. Not to fire. To seal the perimeter. Vorex felt something break inside him. Not his pride. His certainty. For the first time, he understood that humanity had never been afraid. They had been preparing. Why spare us? He asked. The teacher's voice remained steady. Because we are not what you are. A long pause followed. Leave this system. Do not return. And we will restore full solar output. The bridge was silent. Dominion officers looked toward their commander. Retreat had never been spoken in Dominion history. Vorex slowly straightened. Signal fleet-wide surrender posture, he ordered quietly. Gasps filled the chamber. But no one disobeyed. Across space, Dominion ships powered down remaining weapons. They broadcast compliance codes. Formation shifted from aggression to vulnerability. Moments later, the sun brightened. The veil adjusted. Light streamed back toward the fleet. Energy levels stabilized. Not fully restored. Just enough. Human ships did not celebrate. They did not advance. They simply held position as the Dominion fleet prepared emergency jump sequences. As the flagship engines began slow recharge, Vorex took one last look at the sun. It shone freely now. But he knew the truth. It shone because humanity allowed it. Before the hyperspace window opened, a final message transmitted from Earth across all known frequencies. The sky belongs to no empire. Then the Dominion fleet vanished into folded space. Far beyond the battlefield, the Dyson Veil remained active. Panels adjusted quietly back into distant positions, appearing like harmless debris once again. On Earth, sunlight fully returned. People stepped outside and looked up. They saw a normal sky. Blue. Bright. Warm. They would never know how close that light had come to disappearing forever. And far away, in the cold silence beyond Pluto, human sentinels continued to watch the stars. Because if anyone ever tried to own the sky again, humanity would already be waiting. The Dominion fleet did not speak during their retreat. Thousands of ships moved in broken silence through hyperspace corridors. Systems were damaged. Pride was shattered. But they were alive. And that fact alone changed everything. Commander Vorex stood alone in the observation chamber as stars bent and stretched outside the viewing glass. For the first time in his long military career, he was not returning as a conqueror. He was returning as a witness. Across the wider galaxy, hidden observers had recorded the entire conflict. Trade guilds. Minor empires. Independent systems. Many had expected Earth to fall within hours. Instead, they watched a star go dark. They watched the Dominion fleet lose control. They watched humanity take command of a sun itself. Whispers spread faster than light. They blocked their own star. They fought without rage. They could have destroyed the Dominion. But the most powerful whisper was this. They chose not to. Back in the solar system, the Dyson Veil slowly retracted. Massive panels folded inward. Energy relays detached and drifted toward hidden storage zones. To distant scanners, the sun appeared completely normal again. Humanity had no interest in showing its full strength longer than necessary. Admiral Lena Armin stood inside the outer command station near Pluto, watching final system reports. Veil returning to standby formation, an officer confirmed. Outer defense fleets resuming shadow positions. Solar output stabilized at 100%. Armin gave a small nod. Maintain deep watch, she said. We assume nothing. On Earth, life resumed quickly. News networks told stories of survival. Governments spoke of unity. Scientists remained quiet about how close everything had come to total war. Most humans would never see the Dyson Veil. It would remain a rumor. A legend. A silent guardian. Weeks later, a transmission arrived from beyond Dominion space. It was not a threat. It was not an apology. It was a request. A minor galactic alliance, long pressured by the Dominion, asked for peaceful contact with Earth. They had seen the battle. They understood that humanity was not expansionist. But it was powerful. Human leaders debated carefully. Then they answered. Not with fleets. With diplomats. The galaxy expected arrogance. They received calm. The Dominion itself underwent change. Commander Vorex presented a full report before the High Council. He did not hide his failure. They do not conquer, he said firmly. They endure. Some council members demanded revenge. But revenge required certainty of victory. And no one could ignore what they had witnessed. The Dominion began redesigning its ships. Independent reactors were researched. Stellar reliance was reduced. For the first time, they prepared defensively rather than offensively. Humanity had not just won a battle. They had reshaped an empire. Far beyond the known sectors of space, ancient civilizations took notice. Species older than the Dominion, older even than humanity's recorded history, marked Earth as something new. Not a threat. Not prey. Something different. A stabilizer. Years passed. Trade routes opened between former Dominion territories and human systems. Joint research programs began cautiously. Tension never fully disappeared, but fear had changed direction. In a quiet control room hidden within an asteroid field, a young human officer once asked Admiral Arman a simple question. Do you think they will try again? Arman looked at the star map. Every star was a potential battlefield. Every star was a source of light. They might, she answered honestly. The officer swallowed nervously. And if they do? Arman's eyes shifted toward the symbol marking the Dyson Veil. Then we remind them. Above Earth, the sky remained bright and blue. Birds flew. Cities grew. Children played under sunlight they barely thought about. They did not know that their star could be dimmed. They did not know that millions of hidden platforms could move within minutes. They did not know that humanity had quietly stepped into a new role. Not rulers of the sky. Not owners of light. But guardians of balance. And across the galaxy, one truth spread farther than fear ever had. The Sky Dominion once believed they owned the heavens. Until they met a species that did not need to own the sky. Because when the moment came, humanity became it.